show you that. It's a squat lobster. I believe you can eat them. Never tried myself, but they're pretty cool. It's like a little lobster. And look at that little cork wing wrasse. Well, there's another species here, little one with a line on it, and there's the cork wing. There. I'll put him back in the water there. And there's even one of these green ones I was telling you about that the top knots eat, this one here. We always find those inside top knots' stomachs. Right, put him back. Get this rock back over. But as you can see, not so much here, but where we just walked through, a lot of rocks just left unturned. A lot of rocks that could easily be turned back. There's always one or two that just don't bother. I'll turn them over and just leave it like that. And it doesn't do it any good when you get swathes of white rocks. But those are the people that just don't care. They're only here for the Ormers and don't care what happens afterwards. I mean, you can't get everything back, but leaving everything turned up is awful. You'll see a lot of these rocks are covered in eggs and covered in young baby Ormers or Abalones. Well, look at that, right in the shallows on the beach. Another baby lobster. That's 5 or 6 we found today. Good for the future, that's for sure. Right, we'll put his rock back in a sec. Just check that. Put the rock back. Try and get it back as best we can. Oh, it's been a pain in the ass, this rock. Awkward doing it with one hand. There we go. Right, pop him back. Here he goes. Another cork wing. Give you the year for cork wing wrasse, that's for sure. Look at that, coming up the beach. Just shows how high up you can come in some places. It's a cracker, that one, bigger than some of the stuff we were getting further down. Right, let's just check a couple more stones here, and then I'm going to re-gauge everything, make sure there's nothing illegal. Right, let's check all our Ormers, make sure they're all legal before we end up walking off the beach. Always good practice. Right. So those two are definitely size. I'll just pick out the ones I know are size to start with. Oh, I know definite are over. Those. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23. 23. Yeah. I just need to check. Just giving them that last check before I go up, you know.
Yeah, check tires as well. I ended up with 13 and well, you have 16, 16, yeah.
Yeah. Because some like that, they look quite small, but when you actually put them on,
yeah, when you measure,
I mean, that's a good mil or two over that one. So.
I had a couple. They were skinny, like.
Yeah, and long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, successful trip. 23 Ormers. Now for the fun part. And that's taking these waders off because this right leg, this one down here, is soaking wet. So anyway, today turned out to be quite good. The gamble paid off. We decided to go on a tide which wasn't as big, purely because tomorrow we're going to get 4-6 winds. You're going to have rain, sleet, God knows what they predicted, and on top of that, with the pressure dropping, the tides will not go as far. Plus, if the wind is blowing hard on the sea, pushing in, it'll churn it all up. You won't be able to see in the water, so it'll just make life a lot more difficult. But anyway, it paid off. We did get 23 Ormers, and this one I got in my hand here. This is the biggest one I've ever found. This is the shell of it. It's about as big as my hand. My hands are fairly large, so that shows you how big that is. It's about 13.5 centimetres, I think, this one. In fact, I've got a tape measure right here, look. Let's have a look. Yeah, just under 13.5. That one. Of course, if you go in other parts of the world, you find they get this big, as opposed to that size. I mean, this is a giant for here. Or, in even other parts of the world, they get this big. I mean, this is huge. Crikey, in places like this, you only need to go and get one when you compare it to the ones we get here. And I mean, like I say, this one I've got here is the biggest one. Normal ones are half this size, so you can see that quite a difference. But anyway, I say half, 15 of those Ormers have gone to an elderly gentleman. He's in his 80s. He's basically can't get down the beach anymore. He's had a few problems with his heart, so he'll be pleased to get those. And the rest of them, which I have sitting there, I'm going to put them in the tank for now. I'm going to deal with them tomorrow morning. But you'll see there, those ones I'm going to be cooking up. Now, I don't know if I'll be doing it on the end of this video. Probably not. It'll probably be in a new video or a different video, and we'll do like a cook. And I'm going to show you how they get cooked. Now, some people just fry them, but when you fry them, they're always going to be a lot tougher. And if you don't hammer enough, they'll be really tough. So what we're going to do is we're going to be frying them, a quick fry, and then they'll be getting casseroled. And you casserole them for a couple of hours, and it will make them very, very tender and very, very tasty. So I've just got to get all the ingredients for that tomorrow. And like I say, I'll sort these out tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see how we get on with that. And just as a comparison, that's the shell of my biggest. And you can see the difference. Quite a difference. But all of these are over legal size. These are probably all at least a centimetre oversized that are in this bowl. Like I say, we do have strict restrictions on it. Right, so to start off with, we get our Ormers, which are here in the bowl. Let's tip that out. And we're going to need a knife. Now, this knife here, this is an ancient, you can see by it just how old that handle is on that knife. It's even cracking and all sorts. This knife has got one job, for taking ormers out of the shell. That's all it's used for, this knife. It sits in the house all year round, until it gets an ormer tied, then it comes out the drawer. And prior to that, it was, I think, my grandmother's, and prior to that, it was probably my great-grandmother's. But whether they kept it just for ormering, I don't know, but that's all it's used for now. The reason being is because it's got a round top. Now, you can do it with any knife, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the ormer out, out the shell, and we're going to push it under the shell, and having a round, it has two purposes. One, it doesn't scratch the shell if you want to save the shells, some people do. Two, with these ormers, when they get a bit older, the shell gets very thin. I say thin, it gets very pitted from a sponge, which is what normally ends up killing the ormer. And if you push a pointed knife through there, it can go straight through the shell, straight into your hand. So, rounded knife. So anyway, if you're a bit squeamish or you don't like seeing this sort of thing, look away now, because we're going to put the knife in, and what you do is you go in under the ormer like that, grab the ormer, pull it like that, and you leave everything behind, and you've got the foot and the head, and the ormer should be dead now. So that's the quickest way to do it. And then what you do is you want to get yourself a sharp knife over here. So just get yourself a little sharp knife, and then you have to notch that like that, notch like that. That's just the head. It's a little hard bony bit. Just take that off like so. Put that there, and there you have it. One ormer. And this part, you just take that blunt knife again, and what I tend to do with this is just scrape that out of there like that, and then you've got yourself a nice shell. Just give the shell a clean. Some people use this shell actually. I used to send some to a guy in Germany who used to use them in violins. He used to use the mother of pearl for violins. Apart from that, it's just a nice shell. And the guts, nothing goes to waste around here. This will go into a bag, it'll go into the freezer, and I'll take it with me when I go fishing, use it for fishing bait, or just for sherving up the area for where I'm fishing. So, like I say, nothing goes to waste. Right, so we'll do one more. So again, get under the foot. Some can be tougher than others, like so. Grab the foot, pull it forward like that, job done. That's out, knife, chop out the head area. It is just basically a giant snail. Chop that in there, and like I say, you can take the guts down. There you go again. Right, I'm just going to get these finished, and then we'll be back with the next part. So now they're all out the shell, we can continue on. Now, just want to show you something quickly. This is obviously the gut part of the ormer. But if you get the really old ones, not with these young ones, you get the really massive, really old ormers, sometimes you can actually find pearls in here. They'll be very, very small, and what you're looking for is on the shell here. This is very smooth. You'll see like bumps where the pearls are forming. Now, a lot of them will still be stuck to the shell, but you will get some. If you ever see that in these ormers, you just feel around here, and you can find the odd pearl in them. Now, they're probably the rarest pearls in the world, because I currently have probably about 7 that I've collected in the last God knows how many years, many years. I've come across about 7 that are really good. There are some that are just no good, but yeah, you can find them, but they've got to be the biggest of the ormers, basically the very old ones. Right, so the next step is the not so much fun step, just to get out of the way. It's basically on the ormer here. You see all this green, this is algae basically, and you just got to scrub them. Now, how much you want to scrub them is up to you. What I tend to do, which has been sort of handed down to me, is scrub that foot good, scrub around anywhere where there's green showing, basically like that. Just get off the worst of it, like that, like that. So you've got most of it off, you don't need to get it all off. Then what you can do is, if you get a bowl like this, put some water in it, like that, put the ormer in, like that. I'll just put it on the side here. Then what you want is a little bit of bicarbonate of soda. all you do, sprinkle a little bit of bicarb in there, like so. Swish it around, just so it dissolves a bit. And what I normally do is when we catch the ormers, we take them out the shell, clean them like that, quick scrub, chuck them in some water with a bit of bicarb, and then leave them in the fridge overnight. We do that with all of them again, just some running water, quick scrub, just to get the worst off. Like so, and then into the bowl. Now you can just leave them in water overnight, that helps as well, and then just scrub them the next day, the fresh water. But this is just the way I've always been shown, is add a little bit of bicarb to the water, it'll help to remove all the green off the ormer. Right, so now the ormers have soaked, they get another scrub, put that to there. And as you'll see there, that didn't take long at all, and they cleaned up really nice. Got rid of most of the, well, almost all of the algae. So that's what the bicarb does. Just helps them clean up a bit. Then what you want is a plate. Just pop them on a plate like so. Grab another one, and then just basically got to go through cleaning them all up. Right, so the ormers have now been cleaned, and on to the next part of the process. Right, as you can see, we've got our ormers here, nice and clean, or as clean as you're going to get them. These little bits you get a little bit still in this frilly bit here, which you always get, but that'll actually come out of the tea towel. Now what you want is you want a block, or something hard, you can do this on the floor if you like. Then you put them in a tea towel, an old tea towel, because this tea towel will get thrown out. This is just an old one, it's getting holes in it, it will be thrown out. We just keep those old tea towels for this sort of thing. And basically what you do is you get them warmer like that, stick it in there, then what you got to do, I'm just using this meat hammer. I mean, I normally would use a bigger one like this, but this one's kind of flies off all the time, so I'm using this one, and you can use the edge, although I can do it with this because I know it's an old tea towel, it's not going to last. And then you hammer them. Now you can do this with a hammer, just a normal hammer, or anything heavy. Now the art is to hammer it, but not actually make it fall to bits. Just tenderising it. So you want to bash it with a kind of, not a mental force, but enough. Quick story, my great grandfather apparently used to sit on the floor with ormers like this. He used to have a hammer of some description, he used to put them on like this, and he used to spend hours bashing these things out until apparently they were the size of dish plates, and he hadn't broken them, they were just like out here somewhere. We're not going to spend that long. The casseroling we're going to do will take care of the rest of the making them softer. You want to pay attention to the edge, because that's always the toughest part of the ormer. Some will be easier than others. Now you see here it's starting to break a little bit. I'm giving it a little bit more force, plus with the spikes kind of thing it does do a little bit more damage than a normal hammer. But just pay attention to that edge, is like I say the most important part, because that's always the toughest. there we go. That's what you're trying to do. You start with that, and you end up with sort of that. So this one now will go on a plate. Like so. And then I continue on with all the others. So there you go. One plate of tenderised Ormers or Abalone. Now, you can just take these, put them in flour and fry them if you like. They can be done that way, especially if you only get one or two. You just as well fry them. I would pay particular attention though if you're going to just fry them, as to hammer them gently and just hammer them a lot, because they will be tough if you just fry them. And for some people they'll be a bit too tough, especially like I say, the edge. But we're not going to just fry them. Like I say, we're going to be doing the old casserole technique. And by the time we finish with these, they should have the texture of, say, something like a scallop. That's what we're aiming for. Right, so we start off with, you take a frying pan, put some butter in it, put your frying pan on, melt that butter down. Then what you're going to need, or what we're going to use, don't need it, but what we're going to use, is we take some bacon. First we're going to fry up some bacon. Now, part of the reason for the butter will become apparent afterwards. Now, you don't need to overcook your bacon, because this will be going in with the Ormers. And don't worry, the Ormers won't end up tasting like bacon. It'll be the other way around. Just stick these on the plate for now. So I've just added a little bit more butter to that. So you use the frying pan that you've had bacon in, and you get some flour, sprinkle some flour on a plate or a board or whatever you prefer to use, like this. Then what you do is you grab your Ormers like this, you stick them on the flour, give them a nice flour like that, and then into the pan. You do that with all of them. Just keep flouring them, dropping them in the frying pan, and the idea is you're going to give them a little bit of a browning, but you're not going to completely overcook them. Now, you can just cook Ormers like this with flour and fry them and eat them just like this if you want. Just cook them a little bit longer, obviously, than what we're doing. We're only browning them, like I say, because they will be then put into a casserole dish. Now, once your Ormers have got a nice golden brown like that, or a light goldening, just pop them into a casserole dish. Like so. Now, as a child I used to really like them fried, but as I've got older I've actually tend to prefer them casserole these days. Like I said, they are going to be tougher if you ate them like that, although they're still fine. Okay, now I've just got a couple more to do. You'll notice there's some extra Ormers. I actually went today and got a couple of extras because it's still the tide. That'll be coming in a later video. And yeah, so we've got a few more, which is nice. So now you've got some, you put some water in the frying pan, in the same frying pan obviously that you've had the Ormers in, and just stir up all the bits and the leftover butter, and you get an OXO cube, or you can just use gravy granules probably, and just sprinkle that in there like that, and then just stir all that up. Right, so hopefully my camera lens hasn't steamed up and all the steam coming off this. So there we have our broth, or whatever you want to call it. Like I say, oxo cube thrown in with some water in the frying pan we cook the ormers. Then we take some very thick gravy. You can see that. That was made up. And we pour that into here as well. Get all of that out. Let me get rid of that. And use that. There we go. Nice little bit out. There we go. Now we stir all of this up. So basically you're just making a gravy in effect, with all the bits in. And we'll just add any extra water as needed. Right, so now you've got your ormers in the casserole dish. You take your bacon and just lay it over the top. Doesn't really matter where, just chuck it in there. Like that. Like that, and like that. That'll do. Okay. Tissue. Of course, you realise that this casserole dish now contains two of the finest ingredients in the world: ormers and bacon. And now you get your sauce and you pour it on all your gravy like so. What I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of water just to clean out the rest of this. There we go. Now the thing is with your gravy, make sure you, if you ever do this, that you don't put your gravy too thin. I had one once where it was very thin gravy, and basically they were cooked most of the night. I mean, it was a very long time they were cooked for, far longer than I'd cook them. And they tasted of nothing the next day. I've never come across an ormer that actually didn't taste of anything. So just push everything down in there, that'll be fine. Like that. Just get that bacon up there a bit. There we go. So it looks like that. And lid on. Right, so I've just warmed the oven up. It's 140 degrees centigrade. It's between 130 and 140. Basically sling them in to the middle shelf, like so. And now we'll leave them for an hour and a half to 2 hours. They can be left a little bit less, a little bit more, depending on the texture. Obviously, the longer you cook them, the softer they'll get. So, but I wouldn't cook them excessively long, because you can literally cook the flavour out. I mean, I have seen that done once before, where they were cooked almost on a very slow heat all night, and the next day they tasted of absolutely nothing. They were awful. So, hour and a half, 2 hours, that'll be perfect. Okay, there you have it. So you've got your bacon just on top there, which will taste exactly like the ormers, and then you've got your ormers down here. And that's the dish finished, basically. So we're going to serve that up. And I'll tell you now, if you could smell what I'm smelling now, it is just utterly amazing smell. So there you go, one plate of ormers with some fresh garden potatoes and some peas. And this was worth all the hard work that goes into collecting them. So there you go. Now some people say that they're tough, but people who say they're tough, it's because they don't know how to cook them properly. You watch this. Put just the fork straight through. Look at that. Is that tough? I don't think so. That is absolutely perfect. A little bit of texture there, but not tough. Now a lot of people are going to ask me, what do they taste like? Well, they're undescribable. That's all I can say. There's nothing else that comes close to what these taste like. You may think they taste like ormers, like limpets, because limpets are a similar kind of thing that lives on a rock, but they taste nothing like limpets whatsoever. In fact, limpets are horrible. This here, this is pure heaven. Incredible. Now, if I had the choice between a top chef making me a meal or some Ormers, I'd choose the Ormers hands down every time. It wouldn't even be a question, you know, it'd just be Ormers every time. But these, cooked to perfection, these absolutely perfect. Right, sorry, but I gotta go now and get stuck into these.